Good evening. I will call the meeting to order at this time. If you will, please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Prior to us getting started, I would like to call to the front Girl Scout Troop 614. If you'll come to the front and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. We will start with the invocation first, though. Mayor Pro Tem, I will ask you.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you today, Lord, to do work in this wonderful community that you bless us with. Lord, we pray that you help us make the best decisions that benefit all the people, the staff, the leaders in this community, Father. We pray a special prayer for us, Lord, for this state and this nation, Lord, as we face this challenging storm, that you will just keep your hand upon us and keep us all safe as we weather the storm together, Father. We pray, Lord, those that are sick, ill, injured in the community, you'll be with them during this very special time. We ask all this in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Ladies, when you're ready.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. So, gentlemen, you have the agenda in front of you. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Mayor, I'd like to ask we make one change to the agenda this evening.
Okay.
I'd like to ask consent item number 3 be moved to business item number 2 for discussion.
Item number 3, consideration and request for approval to retain outside counsel for purpose of conditional zoning. Yeah, right? Okay. Under new business. Okay, any others?
Make a motion, we approve the agenda as amended. Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. At this time, I have a proclamation declaring September the 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week in the town of Smithfield. So I would at this time ask the ladies of the Smith Bryan chapter of the DAR to please come to the front. For coming out this evening. It's always my pleasure this time of the year to present this. If you will bear with me as I read the proclamation. The proclamation for Constitution Week, September 17th through the 23rd, 2019 in the town of Smithfield, North Carolina. Whereas September the 17th, 2019 marks the 232nd anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitution Convention. And whereas it is fitting and proper to officially recognize this magnificent document and the anniversary of its creation. And whereas it is fitting and proper to officially recognize the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, designating September the 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. Now therefore, I, Andy Moore, Mayor of the town of Smithfield, do hereby proclaim September 17th through the 23rd, 2019, to be Constitution Week in the town of Smithfield, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by diligently protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties, remembering that lost rights may never be regained. Thank you, ladies, very much. Thank you. Chief, how are you, sir? Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Chief, this is you, right? I'm going to turn it over to you for our next item, which is award of the Storm Resiliency Grant. I cannot talk this evening for some reason, from Duke Energy Progress in the amount of $22,000. Chief Blanton, turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Moore. Mayor, Council, we're very excited to learn that we were awarded this grant. We applied sometime in June of this year. This is a one-time grant opportunity from the Duke Energy Foundation. They raised somewhere over $1 million, and there were probably 150 applications, and we're very proud to say we're one of 65 that were awarded. That's a great accomplishment. We owe our thanks to Duke Energy. Tonight I have Mr. Marty Clayton and Mr. David Lasser here to present the award. These 4 firemen here are the one that worked on putting the grant together, so I'd like for them guys to receive it, and this award is really going to be good for us. As we heard earlier, we got a storm coming right this week, and that's what this grant was all about. So what this grant is going to be able to provide us is a safer rescue operations in the event that our citizens need rescuing out of the water. So it's going to go to good use, and we're very excited about that. Mr. Clayton?
Chief, thank you a lot. And it's really an honor for David and I to stand before you tonight to present this check in the amount of $22,000. And as you said, you were one of the 65 recipients out of 150 that applied for the grant. But more importantly, what I want to say here tonight is thank you to you and your outstanding team and all the first responders for really what you do each and every day. And not only do you get out there and help save lives, you know, during the week, you're applying for grants and looking for other funds and money to help assist the town in a special way. So again, it's just a real honor for us to be a small part of this and to recognize and allow you to have these funds to go out and purchase this equipment. So thank you. Thank you. Absolutely. Okay. Gentlemen, on behalf of Duke Energy and the Duke Energy Foundation, David and the rest of the Duke Energy team, we're proud to present this check for $22,000. Congratulations. Mayor, thank you.
Marty, thank you very much. David. So Marty and David, I can say that I've seen firsthand during our last storm. I was out with Chief Blanton, and I saw firsthand the need for the equipment that we are hopefully going to be purchasing with this money. So again, thank you very much to Duke Energy. We appreciate it. Okay, our next item this evening is the oath of office for our new firefighter, Walter Miller. How are you doing this evening, sir? All right. Let's come over here. I want to maybe come over here so we're not so cramped up there. All right. Who wants to hold the Bible? We'll place your hand on the Bible. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me, sir. Oh, you're fine. Okay, if you will repeat after me, sir. I, Walter Curtis Miller,
I, Walter Curtis Miller,
as a firefighter for the town of Smithfield,
as a firefighter at the town of Smithfield,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of North Carolina,
and the Constitution of the State of North Carolina,
and I will faithfully,
and I will faithfully,
honestly,
honestly,
and impartially
and impartially
discharge
discharge
the duties of firefighter
the duties of firefighter
for the town of Smithfield.
for the town of Smithfield,
And I pledge to carry out
and I pledge to carry out
the duties of firefighter
the duties of firefighter
to the best of my ability
to the best of my ability
and will honor
and will honor
and respect
and respect
the mission,
the mission,
goals,
goals,
purpose,
purpose,
and policies
and policies
of the Smithfield Fire Department.
of the Smithfield Fire Department,
And I recognize
and I recognize
the badge of my office
in the badge of my office
as a symbol of public faith
of a symbol of public faith
and trust.
and trust,
And I accept,
and I accept,
so long as I am
so long as I am
true to the ethics
of the ethics
of the fire service,
of the fire service,
and make these promises
and make these promises
so solemnly,
so solemnly,
freely,
freely,
and upon my honor.
and upon my honor,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations, sir. How timely is that? Take it on the truck. Did you guys plan that? Congratulations, sir. And we appreciate your service to this town of Smithfield, and be careful out there. Okay? I want to go around and, pending, sorry. The most important thing. It's a lot easier when your police officer have those bulletproof vests on, so you don't have to worry about stabbing him in the chest. Congratulations. Welcome. Okay, our next item this evening is the presentation number 4, Clear Government Financial Transparency Program presentation. This time I will turn it over to our Finance Director. Greg.
Mayor, Council, thank you. Our presentation this evening is from a company called ClearGov. Agencies like ClearGov, excuse me. You there, Anna?
Yes, hi, Greg.
1 second.
All right.
Say something for test purposes.
Good evening.
Okay. Is that too loud? Let me start over, if you don't mind. I forgot to tune Anna in. Our presentation this evening is from a company called ClearGov. And ClearGov's mission is to take complex financial data like that found in our annual audit and make it more understandable for the general public and other users. In doing so, they help the town to tell our story in a way that makes better sense to everyone. So in the last decade or so, there's been a seismic shift in the way people have come to receive and share information. Today, we want stuff at our fingertips, and we want it now. And so this presentation is just a step in that direction. Your job as council, what I'm asking you to do is after this presentation, you'll have roughly 6 days to go to our website and view this data and make a decision at one of the future staff meetings if this data is going to be useful or needed for the town. So it's a demonstration today for you to look at over the next 60 days and make a decision. Without further ado, I'll let Anna Bakora take over the presentation. Go ahead, Anna.
Thanks so much, Greg, and good evening, everybody. As Greg mentioned, I'm Annabelle Cara. I am the Client Success Manager from the town of Smithfield over here at ClearGov, and I'm presenting this to you from our head office right now. I'm in Massachusetts. I really wish I could be there, but I'm hoping that this presentation will give you an overview of what we offer in terms of financial transparency. So as Greg mentioned, here at ClearGov, our mission is to build a community of transparent, data-driven modern government. So right now, in this digital age, everyone's expecting information to be available with a click of their mobile device, with a Google search. And our goal here is to really help you share that information with your citizens, with your constituents. And we fulfill this mission by providing not just municipalities, but also school districts with a full suite of cloud-based, turnkey, and affordable software solutions. So they're cloud-based because there's no installation required, there's no maintenance, and it's always up to date. It's turnkey because we do all the heavy lifting for you. We understand that government staff is almost always stretched thin, so we want to minimize the effort that it takes to put up your data on your end. And it's also affordable because it's priced for small to medium-sized governments, and it's all-inclusive. There's no charges for extra licenses, and there's no hidden fees involved. So by providing you with this suite, we're looking to help you leverage your fiscal and performance data to build your community's trust, as well as help you become more efficient in your financial operations. So currently, the town of Smithfield is looking into the ClearGov Insights product. So this product includes 3 different modules, which we're going to go over today. The first part is financial transparency, and then there's also project communications, and our latest feature is called Department Dashboards. So let's take a look at those, and then we'll also take a tour of the current ClearGov profile that we have for the town of Smithfield. So for the financial transparency part, for the past month, we've been working with your finance director, Greg Seiler, on the onboarding process. So like he mentioned, he's provided us with the raw data from your accounting system, and our data team has taken care of importing it, onboarding it, and mapping the data to your ClearGov page. Your ClearGov page features easy-to-understand infographic formats so that the public is not looking at tables of data, and instead they're looking into some really easy-to-understand infographics and charts. It also allows you to provide context to these numbers. So you have the ability to add commentaries to these charts, to share with them some information. A lot of people that are looking at these pages do not have accounting or finance background, so definitely sharing some context behind the numbers allows you to tell your whole story. It also allows you to share your budgets versus actuals. This way you can show how your funds are collected and allocated. It also reveals some trends on your historical data as well. Last but not the least, your financial transparency page also has Open Checkbook, which provides the public an easy, searchable way to access check level detail and line item spend. This is an extra level of transparency that allows you to share this data and opens it up to show them that you have nothing to hide. So we're going to take a look at that in a little bit. That's the financial transparency piece. The next piece, or the next module, is called project communication. And this really allows you to share project details and finances with the public. So this can be capital projects, any town initiatives. These project pages allow you to share images and documents. It also allows your citizens to subscribe to these projects so they can follow along the progress. A lot of towns or municipalities use this for, let's say, roadway projects. They also use it for some projects that are multi-year. Specifically, like I noticed that a lot of your projects also span through like 2022 or 2023. So this really allows the public to follow along the progress per year, see what's going on, when it's expected to be completed. And they can also subscribe via email so they can get these updates in their inbox. Last but not the least, some of these project pages, you can turn on commentary sections so you can gather feedback from them if they have any questions or comments. And of course, it allows you to share budget information as well as funding information for a lot of these capital projects in your town. So, what's the benefit of showing your projects on ClearGov? It really allows you to shine a spotlight on your community development. You know, in relation to how tax dollars are spent, you can highlight these projects so they can show where these funds are being spent or allocated. It also helps you really reduce some incoming calls. You know, people may be asking about a specific project. You can point them in the direction of the project page. And a lot of our clients even use this to present it at town meetings and direct people to subscribe to updates so that they can really see the updates in real time. The next slide that I wanted to go over is our latest feature. So this was just launched a couple of months ago. It's called Department Dashboards. And this allows you to show to tell your government's whole story by showing department level performance metrics. So in this example, as you can see on the screenshots, you can build a department dashboard for your police department, for your public works, and you can really create any custom dashboard that you'd like. So aside from sharing financial data about, let's say, the budget of your police department, you can also showcase their KPIs, and you can show how they're serving your community. And we'll take a look at some of these examples, and you can kind of tell how you can use a lot of these department dashboards throughout. You can also use this to pull in existing graphics. You can also create custom charts, and you can add your own custom photos. So definitely a lot of ways that you can use your dashboards. Some towns currently use it to share community development information as well. A particular example, I just spoke with a town last week in terms of how they're getting a lot of questions about their population being on the rise and like overcrowding. And they use their department dashboards to share what community development efforts they're doing that's really creating this population increase. So a lot of things that you can use with a department dashboard, it really allows you to tell your story. So those are the three modules, and we're going to take a look at your page overview in a little bit. But before we do that, do you have any questions for me about those three sections?
No questions at this time, Anna.
All right, great. So let's go ahead and take a look at the page. So this is the current ClearGov page for the town of Smithfield. So Greg and I have been working together and making sure that it's updated with the financial data from your accounting system so that it's reflecting your chart of accounts. So the first section that should land on the page is an overview section. So this consists of the different panels that really will take the public to the respective pages. So these are like snapshots of the different pages on your account. So the first section here is a demographic snapshot, which shows the information about your population, median home value, and median household income. So as you can see, it shows your total population as well as some analytics compared to the state median. This is data that's coming from the U.S. Census Bureau. And the latest data that we have is 2017. We are looking to update that with 2018 data towards the end of September. The census was a little late in publishing the data this year, so we're expecting to get that updated by the end of this month. If you click View More Demographics, it will take you to the Demographics page. And you can also access any of these pages via this navigation bar at the top. On the demographic page, at the top, you have the different years that you can click to view the demographic information for that specific year. But as you scroll down, you can see that it's not just population information. We also have your population trends here. A lot of the graphs on your ClearGov page are interactive, so you can hover over any of these graphs and see the actual numbers. And then below that, we also have daytime population, population by age group, as well as household information. So for household information, it shows the total number of households, how it breaks down by family, married couple, single, seniors living alone. And then we also have economic panels in here that shows what the household income looks like, as well as some comparisons to the median or the state average. The last section here is about housing. Shows us a picture of the homeowners versus renters in your town, and also compares that with the state average, as well as the median home value information and home value distribution. One of the things that you'll notice as you look at this page, you have these commentary sections We're seeing this because we're currently logged in as a user in your account, and this allows you, let's say, if you're logged in as a user, this allows you to add commentaries to the different panels or section on your page to provide some more context behind the numbers or the graphs. You also have the ability to add your own custom panel. So if, let's say, there's some additional demographic information that you'd like to share here, you can definitely add your own panel, and you can select any panel template, and it's very easy to fill it out. You can enter your own text supporting paragraph, and you can even attach files to this section. So that's the demographics. I also want to show you that if you need any of these charts on your ClearGov page, it's very easy to download them as an image. All you need to do is click on this little, it looks like that's not downloading, but all you need to do is click on those little magnifying glasses. Just refresh the page. And whenever you click on those magnifying glasses, the chart will be available to you to download. You can also add the values in here, and then you can export it as an image. So if you need to put it together for a presentation, or if someone's asking for this information, you can download any of these charts and export it as an image for your own use. It can be used internally and externally as well. So that's the demographic section. The next section that I want to show you is your financial overview. So this is like the heart of your page here. It allows you to really select from a number of funds and display the details for that specific fund. So you can choose government-wide activities, general funds, special revenue, proprietary, and so on. So anytime you select any of these funds, it updates the page and displays that information. Side by side here, we have your revenue and expenses information. It's displaying the most current year, and we have your FY20 budgeted data. That's why it's saying budgeted on this page. And if you click on any of these buttons, it's going to take you to the respective revenue and expenditure pages. It also shows per capita per year information on here as well. Right below this, we have your revenues versus expenses, so you can see your historical data through the years. For the most recent 2 years, we also have your actual versus budgeted data for 2019, and then 2020 shows your budgeted revenue. And again, you can download this image if you like, if you need it for any purpose. It's very easy to grab a copy of these charts. Before we go to the respective revenue and expenditure page, I want to show you the rest of the panels on here. We also have your debt data. And it shows your total debt, and it also includes a view breakdown button that will take you to the debt page. We also have a chart here that shows your debt over time. And as you can see, the data source here is the finance department of the town of Smithfield, and it also shows the most recent year. The next panel here is for your latest projects. So these are just some of the projects that we've put on your page. You can definitely add as many projects as you like. It can be in the planning stages, it can be a current active project, or it can also be a completed project. And once you add addresses to these project pages, it will also show it on the map. But just to take a look at one example, here's an example of a project page for you for your advanced metering infrastructure project. You can share all the details in here. You can add as many details as you'd like. You can also add photos. We currently just have a stand-in photo for now, but as the project progresses, you can definitely show like designs, you can show renderings, you can show actual photos of any kind of construction. You can share all those photos in here. You can also attach any supporting documents. So let's say you have a presentation or even a video, you can share it all on this project page. A lot of our clients, they say that they usually contract like a third party to build a project page for them, but one of the ways that they're saving money on that is just because it's included in their ClearGov subscription, they don't have to spend that extra money for a third party and just build their project pages in here. For some clients who already have like snippets of their project on their website, they would link to these project pages because it's so easy to update it. You don't need help from your webmaster to update it. You can easily log in here and edit these project pages as easy as you would edit like a Word document. It's very easy to modify these. And then it also allows you to share some project management information in terms of your stages, project manager contact information, and of course your budget information. So you can show a breakdown of what the budget cost looks like. In this case, it's broken down by water and electric, and then of course if it's another project where you have design and construction, you can break it all down in here. And last but not the least, you can also share a project's timeline. On the left-hand side, you can show what the projected timeline is going to look like. And then on the right-hand side, you can share current updates. And then there's the subscribe to project updates button in here that allows the public to put in their email address and get notifications via email. So this is a really good way to also share, let's say the town meeting is coming up to discuss this project. You know, you can share that information in here, share some details as well as share some results. Or you can also put this up on your presentation and show them where they can find the info. Last but not the least, there's space for a comment or a question. Anytime someone submits a question or a comment on your page, you will get an email notification, so it's not automatically posted. You have the ability to read that comment and respond to it and post it on the page. So that's the project section. The next page that I want to show you is go back in here, is the revenue and expenditure section. So if you click revenue and expenditure, they really have the same layout. Here at the top, you have the different years that are available to display your revenue information as far back as 2014. And then right below that, we have the option to show a fund, so you can toggle again from any fund that's available in your account. So looking at general fund, it will now show us the breakdown of your revenue sources, and we have a number of visualizations available. So we have your pie chart. You can also switch to a bar chart. If you want a mountain chart or a box chart, you can use or switch to any of these charts displayed on the page. By default, we have a pie chart, and it shows your revenue breakdown. But as you scroll down too, you can see that information in here, including per capita per year and some historical data as well. So let's just scroll down on the page here so you can see how that breaks down nicely. And then for some of these revenue sources or expenditure categories, we have more details, which really breaks it down to the line item level. For some of them that are a little bit more complex, you have the view breakdown button, so you can click on those view breakdown buttons and see that specific page. So you can see general revenues breaks down into taxes, miscellaneous, intergovernmental, and you can see that all laid out on the page as well. So the data can get really granular down to the account ID level, and this is really a really good way to be as transparent as possible with the public. In case they have any questions, they can always find the information in here, as well as how that looks for the past fiscal years. Expenditures is going to be pretty similar. A feature that we have on ClearGov as well is the ability to personalize their experience with the page. So the public can enter, let's say, their property tax bill, and then if they click view figures, it's going to show what their tax contribution looks like. And Greg and I have been working on making sure that it reflects those categories wherein tax contributions are being applied to. So instead of per capita per year, it's going to show contribution per year. But if they choose not to select that, they can always, it will always go back to the per capita per year information in here. And we activated that feature because we found out that that's really one of the most asked questions, is really people really seeking to find how their taxes are being spent or how they're contributing to the expenses of the town. And that's really one of the ways that you can help showcase this information on your page. So I'm not going to go through all of these sections. Again, there's a lot of detail in here. But like Greg said, I do encourage you to take a look at this information. And Greg and I will be working together as well in terms of adding some commentaries in here to help provide some context to these numbers. That way, when you launch your page, you can anticipate any common questions that the public may ask. The next section that I want to show you is the checkbook. So this is the open checkbook functionality, and this displays check level information for the town. So it shows the different checks that's been issued, vendor names, as well as amounts. And this is a searchable page. So if anyone wants to search for a specific vendor, they can go in here and search for that information. And then we're also working on adding descriptions in here, so they can search for a particular description on this page and see that data. So it's really that extra level of transparency here and showing your line item details through this open checkbook module. Last but not the least, we also have the debt information, which really breaks down your debt through the years, so you can see the town, or rather the residents can see what the debt looks like for each year. The next module that I wanted to show you, we haven't built it out yet, but this is something that we will be working on. It's called the Department Dashboard. So we currently have a sample page here that we created just to demonstrate how you can use department dashboards. So this is a fictional city called Demoville. And they've put together some department dashboards here for their police, fire, animal control, senior services, and so on. So one of the things that you can highlight, as I mentioned in my presentation, are the key performance metrics of your departments. So you can show how they're serving your community. So you can see here how quickly did they respond to inbound calls, as an example, 911 calls, what's the type of crime in the city, as well as a more detailed breakdown of their budget. And also you can share some events in here as well, so it doesn't have to be all fiscal data. You can also share some events in here, as well as some fundraiser information, just some examples in there. And then if we take a look at fire department for an example as well, you can see some fire prevention information in here, incidents by type, really any data that you'd like to share. And I'm happy to send along the link to this demo page as well, so you can take a deeper dive into how you can utilize department dashboards. So that's the overview of the page. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and switch back here to the presentation just to wrap things up and show you a number of other tools that you can utilize aside from the transparency page. So aside from the transparency platform, we also have some internal tools. We won't be going over them today, but I've already trained Greg Seiler this morning on these tools. You have access to benchmarking. This really allows you to filter ClearGov's database to compare line items with other towns. All of the data that we have for benchmarking is based on the annual financial information report that is sent to the state treasurer of North Carolina. So when you can, if you want to see how a town is spending versus how Smithfield is spending, or let's say what their revenues look like, you can use our benchmarking tools in the back office for that. We also have visual benchmarking and chart builder apps that allow you to create charts that you can include in your budget book, or you can add to your website, or even to your ClearGov page, showing these comparisons, as well as if you just want to put your own custom data into a chart, you can use ClearGov for that as well. And last but not the least, you have the ability to customize your page. So if, let's say, you want to hide a specific year and you want to just maintain the most recent 5 years on your page, you can customize it to display the years that you'd like, to change the settings, as well as hide some pages if you'd like to update that first. You have the ability to really customize what you'd like the public to see. Aside from these tools, we also have a support team that's not an additional cost to you. You have dedicated client success resources. I'm actually your dedicated client success manager, and I'm here to offer you the unlimited training and support, so you don't have to call for a support line. You don't have to submit a ticket to get some work done on your page. You can easily access me via phone, via email, and I'm here to help you troubleshoot any or answer any questions for you. And then we also have some online resources and tools that you can utilize. So I think, that really goes over what ClearGov offers and what's available in your subscription as well as what's currently available on your page. And I really just wanted to close out by saying that, you know, according to research, only 18% of Americans say that they trust the government to do what is right. And by implementing a transparency program and proactively opening up your data for public consumption, you're showing that you have nothing to hide. And what this does, it helps you drive community support. It also helps you dispel public misconceptions. You know, false news travels really fast these days. People are talking in social media. It actually travels faster than real news. And, you know, you really want to be able to address this by having readily accessible and easily understood facts on your transparency platform. And also, it helps you reduce any inquiries. Your citizens may have questions you're having trouble finding answers to, and by having a ClearGov transparency profile, it helps you answer those questions and helps save you time as well. So that's all that I wanted to show you today. Are there any questions that I can answer for you or any clarifications?
Mayor, I have a question.
Anna, we do have a question. 1 second.
My question is you mentioned that the data would be up to date annually as far as the daily operations. How often does it update?
My job would be to provide data to ClearGov on a monthly basis.
Monthly.
So if you choose to keep this, I just effectively created more work for myself.
Okay, the next question is how much does it cost?
I can answer that, Anna. The annual cost is roughly $5,600. We actually signed an agreement with them. We signed it because they gave us a trial period to review it. So that trial period now ends, I think, around end of October. They were kind enough to even to extend it. I started working on this months ago, but when we became short-staffed, this is just one of those things that got put aside to handle day-to-day processes.
So the $5,600, that include the department modules?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Includes everything. Mm-hmm.
Roughly how much extra work would you create for yourself? On hours on a monthly basis?
Well, our financial data is compiled, kept daily. So it's just a matter of putting that into, I think they prefer Excel format and emailing it off to them. Now, the real work comes in when you want to customize and add descriptive narratives to tell your story. That's where the real work comes in. But that work wouldn't be mine alone. That work would get shared by department heads, because who can better tell their story than they themselves?
And just to add to that too, the updating the page, you know, you can do it if you feel like your time is really, if you're really spread thin and you won't be able to update it monthly. We do have some towns that choose to update on a quarterly period, so that's also an option for you. Really, we want to make it as easy for you as possible. And and in terms of updating the data, so when Greg provides us the export, we do have, or the files, our finance team will go ahead and update that, and it usually takes just a business day to get that up and running on the page. And then with the department dashboards, I'm happy to train anyone who will be using those pages, as well as if they want me to help them build those pages, I'm happy to work with them as well. You know, really our goal is to help minimize the effort on your end and help you in whatever way we can.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so under project communications, that means each department head who has these projects, they'll have to be putting that information in, or providing that information, correct? I mean, that wouldn't be coming through you, it would come through them, because they manage their projects, right?
They do manage their projects, but I manage the overall budget and dollars to make sure they stay within budget primarily. So it's a joint effort. It's not just department heads, or but it's.
I'm just saying that, so that there's additional work that they're gonna have to do also.
Correct.
They have to update the information related to project status and things like that. that'll go to you to put in there for them, right? I mean, so it's not just your department, it's all the departments will participate if you're gonna make it successful, right? I mean, the more involvement you have from the entire, town staff, the better off you're gonna be as far as more accurate information for the public, right?
Absolutely.
If it's just you, it's gonna be limited in this resource.
Yes.
And they'll train all those people to do what they need them to do, correct? That's what they said. Part of that is training, unlimited training, I think, was that said?
It is, but as far as actually going into the site to update, that would be my responsibility.
Yeah, but I mean, training them on what they need to do, what format it needs to be in, to provide it to you, because obviously the better they provide you that information, the less work you will have to do, you know, more work they can do, the less you have to do.
Any other questions, comments?
Is the data we saw on the screen tonight up to date and accurate?
There is still some checking to be done, but that is live data. No, well, except for the departmental part.
So, yeah, to answer your question, the information is not 100% accurate. So, it is somewhat up to date, but it's not 100% up to date. So,
Some of the census information obviously isn't up to date because it's census information is old. Like we said, new information's coming out in this month, so a lot of that on the homepage will be updated soon.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you. Anna, thank you very much.
Thank you, Anna.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, gentlemen, we'll move on to our next item. It's public hearings. Our first public hearing this evening is annexation request for Reed Smith, consideration and request for the approval to adopt ordinance number 500, extending the corporate limits of the town of Smithfield pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 168-31. This is not a quasi-judicial hearing, so no need for anyone to be sworn in on this matter.
Second.
A motion and a second to open the public hearing. All in favor? Aye. Stephen, I will turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you. So this petition has been made by Reed Smith, the developer for the East River development. The petition is to annex 68.16 acres of land into the town of Smithfield's corporate limits. The property is roughly 700 feet north of the intersection of Buffalo Road and Booker Dairy Road. It's just north of the State Employees Credit Union, you can see on the map. It's labeled East River Subdivision, surrounded in blue, if you can see that. So in a summary, we received the petition in June of 2019. On July 9th, 2019, the council adopted a resolution directing the town clerk to investigate the sufficiency of the petition. On August 13th, the council accepted the petition's sufficiency and set the public hearing for tonight's meeting. Public hearing notices were published as required. So the applicant is requesting town sewer, water, and electrical services for the construction of the East River subdivision, which is a planned unit development consisting of 281 residential lots. The PUD plan was approved on April 24th, 2018. A condition of that approval, since they were requesting these services, was that they provide their voluntary annexation petition prior to the final plat of any individual lots. The preliminary plat was approved on December 4th, 2018. Phase 1 construction plans were approved on February 2nd. Phase 1 is now under construction. This is the PUD plans, if you recall, from many months ago, I think it was April last year. Phase 1 is, I don't recall how many lots this is, but this is Phase 1. Currently under construction. They're about to put the streets in currently, and the sewer and water is in the ground. The final plat of Phase 1 will occur after all the public improvements are found to meet the town's minimum standards, or a bond is posted for any outstanding public improvements. Once the final plat is recorded, permits may be issued for home lots. So staff worked with other departments to figure out expenditures and revenue related to this development and its annexation. Public Works reported that they'd have roughly $31,000 of additional tipping fees, additional fuel costs, sweet streeper, broom required, additional uniforms, rollout container fees. The parks had some additional greenway maintenance because there's a bit of additional greenway attached to this development. Police thought they would need additional 4 police officers and 4 cars. The total expenditures, $600,007 roughly. Tax revenue, we'd be receiving roughly $288,000 in tax revenue, just about $16,000 in powable revenue to pay for roads from the state. The SRAC will have almost $100,000 of additional revenue due to memberships. The actual development is planning to do a corporate or a HOA rate and have the entire development be part of the membership. And additional gross revenue for utility sales, roughly $808,000. So what that means is roughly a net gain of $602,000 when the development is built out. As a side note, in accordance with statutes, a petition for annexation filed with the town shall contain a signed statement declaring whether or not the vested rights for the property has been established, and no vested rights have been claimed by the applicant. This annexation does meet the criteria for voluntary contiguous annexation. It is roughly 280, it is contiguous by roughly 285 linear feet of land on the north edge of the town's corporate limits. With this, staff is requesting the town council to conduct this public hearing and make a decision whether to approve the annexation by adopting ordinance 500 or to deny the annexation. With that, is there any questions?
Mayor, I have a couple of questions for Mr. Winsman. Mr. Winsman, based on your presentation, you figured the net gain was $602,000. The total revenue is $1.2 million. That's on the second or third page there.
Yep.
And the Public Works, you figured $31,000 in tipping fees, fuel costs. And I understand this is some rough numbers from the department heads. My question to you is this based on phase 1 or all the phases?
This is all the phases together.
So these numbers are not accurate. What would affect just these next coming years until they get the whole project complete? Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. And the same with the police department. 4 additional officers, 4 patrol cars. I don't ever remember that being part of the discussion, but that's a significant, I think, a perspective based on the project itself. I don't think it's fair to the project to put that much expense tied to that specific topic. So that's just my concern. I think it's a great project, and I hope that it continue to, we can build a partnership with this group. I have one other question. Based on your public notice to the citizens in the community, that area, were there any people that opposed the petition?
There has been no comment. Shannon, have you received any comments? I've received none.
Okay. Thank you.
Tim? Anything else? Questions? So just to follow up a little bit on what Travis said, do you have a breakdown of the expenditures versus revenue as the phases go?
At build out. It was,
No, but I'm saying, do you understand this is what this is?
yeah.
So my question is, do you have anything that shows, as they had phase 1, where we are as far as expenditures versus revenue? You see, that's what I'm saying, and then phase two expenditure, because over time, instead of, because to me, you're looking at an end result, but there's variables along the way that if you meet this, then this is what you will get, or this is what it'll cost. If you meet this, and so therefore you have spots along the way to see if you're in progress, in progress where you're trying to get or not. So, you see what I mean? I mean, that's a 10-year period, assuming that all the houses will be built, assuming that all the houses will be sold, assuming all the apartments will be built. And I'm saying there's a lot of assumptions there, and even Reed Smith said that, you know, well, we'll have to evaluate each phase, and we have to come back and say, well, we want to make some adjustments based upon what's selling. When we all understood that to be the case, right? So, I'm just curious if I think there needs to be some more dots on the scale. You know what I'm saying? Not just a point here, a point there, because then I can't tell you. That doesn't mean anything. You see my point?
I understand, but we do not have that level of analysis.
Well, the petition is to annex the whole subdivision, not phase one.
Correct.
And your expenses are a projection of the whole annex project, not phase
Right.
one.
I do have just one question about this. The additional gross revenue from utility sales, that's the gross revenue, not taking the cost of utilities to the county sewer, the energy that we buy, that's the gross revenue that comes in?
I will have to defer to our utilities director. You know,
Not
we
the
had
net
each
revenue.
department provide what they thought would be the cost and expenditures related to this annexation. So this is the data that I received from each department.
So, do you want Ted to come up?
Yes, please.
So the the data I believe I gave Stephen was based on this year's rates, knowing that the new residents, assuming all, I don't know, 300, is it 300, whatever, 381, would build out, would be this year's, they'd all be residential water in town, residential sewer in town, and they'd all have the residential electric rate. So I just gave them the 381 on those numbers and gave them an average usage of what we have in town.
But as far as our cost for the,
You know, I gave them gross number. I didn't break out,
so it's really not
The
gonna
net.
be $602,000 of net.
not net. That would be gross.
What would the cost, I mean, I know I'm throwing you under the bus here. The cost that we're gonna take in is 808. What is our cost that we have to pay out for the county, for the sewer, the utilities that we buy from power company?
Well, we paid the bulk sewer rate, and I'll have to go back and figure them up and get them to you. I don't have that on me, Councilman Dunn. I don't know off the top of my head, but I can certainly work up something and get it to you tomorrow if you need it.
The great majority of the cost is police, and it's not rough, right? Your police is $550,000 of $607,000. So if it doesn't develop, you won't have the police.
I'll defer to your knowledge on that,
Well,
sir.
for the police department will be continually evaluated as we go through call loads. There's no way to know what the call load's going to be out there. The hope is with a new subdivision, there's not going to be a very large call load. So if call load is small, these numbers are probably way high. If call loads increase out there for some reason, then they're probably accurate. But you're talking about over a 10-year period or 8-year period of time before this thing's built out. And there'll be, all of these expenses will be evaluated, and we'll get real numbers for you once we get a phase built. It won't, I mean, obviously, any house in Smithfield, when you look at the tax revenue, you look at their water, sewer, their expenses for the general fund with police, fire, public works, parks and recreation, we're making money enough to support all of those services, and that's our goal. And we believe that this annexation will also support all of those services as well. So we're not going to be leaning into anyone else's pocket to pay for these properties. It'll probably be the other way around.
Any other questions? Yeah, Mike, I too, like Mayor Pro Tem, I don't remember any discussions about additional police officers or cars needed for that. I'm sure as time goes on, we may need, but I think it's kind of a shock to see that four additional cars show up tonight, you know, on the presentation. I don't think that was ever, to my recollection.
I don't believe
ever
that was
discussed.
ever discussed,
Right, and brought up,
but
so.
I think it was always believed that we would have the average out there based on the average for what we have in the town.
Right. Okay. I think that's where, it's an awfully large number.
It is a
and
large
kind of as a
We don't have
council.
4 police officers for every 300 residential structures in town.
Well, that's exactly right.
Right, exactly. I think that's very inflated a tad. Okay. Any other
And
questions?
in the revenue, that really include, or does it? Does revenue include the trash? I mean, trash is,
That is,
that's all zero-sum game. It should pay for itself. Trash, you know,
Yeah, and
that's
that's-
like electricity, water, and sewer.
those numbers are in there.
They are in the
Yes.
revenues.
Yeah, yeah.
That's in there's expense.
Any other questions? Anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this matter? Okay. All right. This time, if there are no other questions, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing. So moved, Mayor. Motion and a second. All in favor? Okay.
Do we need to adopt the ordinance?
Yep. So this time, I'll ask for, if the council is in agreement, for a motion to approve the annexation petition and to adopt ordinance number 500. A motion and a second to approve the annexation and adopt ordinance number 500. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Okay. Thank you, Steve. Okay. The next item this evening is citizens' comments. If there's anyone wishing to speak, please come forward. I will ask you to keep your comments to 3 minutes, please. Sure, come on forward, Mr. Lang. Yeah, come on forward, Mr. Langston.
My name is Ken Langston. I live at 2255 Buffalo Road here in Smithfield. And my neighbor, who is Larry Stansel, and I own the property on the west side of Buffalo Road, directly across from the intersection of Kelly Drive where the new stoplight will be. I've been working with, we have been working with the DOT on this project for nearly a year. And the DOT is convinced that they can put water into our 3-acre pond. As a matter of fact, there's already erosion problems that the DOT is trying to correct as they finish the project. And I hear on the news tonight that we've got a 4 to 6 inch rain coming, and I'm expecting worse problems. I do not want my pond to be full of sediment. I do not want the pond to be eroded away, the banks of the pond to be eroded away. Like I say, I've been working with the DOT guys. 3 different people at DOT have promised me that they have made slight tweaks or changes to the plans, but I am not convinced that this will prevent the erosion and sediment into the pond that I'm concerned about. The way we have left it at this point is the DOT has told me that there are additional measures that can be taken should this problem arise. Well, with the 6-inch rain on the way, we've already had 2 once-in-20-year rains this summer that have created erosion and sediment in the pond. So, if the town of Smithfield is being asked to accept this road improvement or road betterments or whatever the agreement says, I'm telling you the betterments are not there for Larry and I. And if the town accepts it, it looks like to me that the improvements that DOT has promised me, the town of Smithfield's now in line to be part of the solution as well. So here's where we stand. I met with Stephen earlier, well, at the end of last week, and he and I and the town engineer have a meeting set for Monday to look at the situation. And if the storm is as bad as I think it will be, or as Channel 5 is telling us it'll be, we'll see some action there that needs to be corrected. Like I say, we've had an ongoing conversation with the DOT people in Wilson and on site, and they keep promising us that there will be solutions that are not in place yet. It is still under construction. So I wanted to go on record as saying that Larry and I are not happy as things stand. Larry Stansel and I are not happy as things stand now, and that we're looking for somebody to come through with a solution. And I would hate for the town of Smithfield to take it unbeknownst.
But you got a T-code intersection there right at your property, right?
We do.
Where's the water coming that goes into your property?
The water that comes from my property is from my property and Larry's property and adjacent fields. It is basically, Bob,
I know, Ken, but I'm saying, where does the road, how does the road put, how are they proposing to put road water on your property?
oh, that's a good question. I didn't explain that. So on the east side where Kelly Drive has been constructed, the last 100 feet or so of the road inclines toward our property. They are gathering the road ditch water on that side and piping it under the road, under a new pipe. There was an existing 18-inch pipe that never carried any water, and now we have a 30-inch pipe under the road that's just been installed, which is at obviously a lower depth and wider because they know they're going to send more water our way. Larry and I have lived there since 1993, and the only time we've accepted any water from the east side of the road is the very worst hurricane or whatever. Now we're getting water. Like I say, this summer we've had 2 20-year rains. We've had water and we've had sediment. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for listening to me.
Anyone else?
My name is Emma Gimmel, and I live at 207 Hancock Street. And I'm passing around some pictures that are of several structures with significant issues, and that's what I'm going to be speaking to. As I previously stated in the August board meeting, I'm concerned about the maintenance and maintaining of our town structures, especially. In the 2003 growth plan, maintenance was an issue. We still have an issue. Also, the Parks and Rec Advisory Board in 2017 stated that the park's maintenance conditions were not appropriate. Pam and I have looked at our parks shelters with damaged roofs that have occurred since last year's 2018 budget and still haven't been repaired, or even a tarp to keep the damage to a minimum. The large, beautiful shelter near Shrike has missing shingles and other obvious problems. Spring and especially fall storms are an issue with rain and strong winds. What if the fall season proves to damage more structures? Do they have to wait until next year, as this past year's damage suggests? Do people want to move to a town that isn't keeping up appearances? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? We move on to the consent agenda. Have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Now we'll move on to business items. The first business item is on page 95 of your agenda package. Consideration and request for approval to enter into a supplemental agreement with NCDOT for roadway improvements to Kelly Drive.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is, as the mayor stated, it starts on page 95. The original contract that we entered into begins on page 97. The supplemental contract that we're discussing for approval actually starts on page 104, and it is 3 pages long. Supplemental contract comes at the end of, near the end of the project, which is the Kelly Drive project, where the town had agreed to accept ownership of the road once it's complete. This contract won't go into effect until, if you notice on page 106, upon approval of final inspection of Kelly Drive, which has not been done yet. But this would pave the way for the town to take ownership of that road, as well as that small stub off of Kelly Drive that goes in the direction of the new charter school. I believe we've had discussions about that little stub before. When we talk about betterments in this capacity, what we're talking about are the things that the town had agreed to pay extra for on this project, which is predominantly sidewalks on Kelly Drive. We budgeted this year to pay 30% of the price of the sidewalks, with DOT picking up the other amount and installing them, payable only upon inspection and completion of the project. Mr. Spence has reviewed the contract. I received nothing, you didn't have any problems with it?
No.
So we're prepared to move forward with it once final inspections are complete. And this is, again, just the road and the sidewalks.
I don't know what the engineering standards are with DOT, but I'm sure some of us do. We obviously ought to check on that 30-inch pipe and whatever water is involved, right? When we hear about it.
I don't know what that has to do with the road. I understand that.
He's trying to link it to the road.
Well, I understand that. That's the first I've heard of it was today, so.
I understand.
Mayor, I have a few comments I'd like to make on this. Sure. It's a great concern to me that I appreciate Mr. Langston coming out this evening, sharing his concerns. I've seen other concerns in the north side with this project. And we've got to form a strong partnership with the DOT, but they've got to do their part. The town of Smithfield cannot afford to rebuild roads that they put in. Further, we have in subpar streets in part of our town that we're trying to address now. We have got to make sure that this stuff is proper. I would ask that if Mr. Langston would be open to that they invite the DOT to that meeting with Mr. Winsman and Drexler to try to make sure that these issues are addressed. There's other issues with the turning lane along the new infrastructure in front of the school. In past, our planning department and council just received the roads. We're looking at building almost over $1 million project because of that very issue this day. So I think it's important for us to do our due diligence and do preventive measures to make sure this is correct, because I will remind everybody that is going to be an entrance to Smithfield, and it's got to be proper. If they make that Interstate 42, that's going to become one of the major gateways of Smithfield, and I feel like that we need to make sure that it's right for whatever it's worth.
Any other questions, comments?
I would comment, I fully agree with the comments that
made. I'm concerned about, I realize we're just moving to the next phase, but I go by that road often, the entrance of it, it's not done. The road's not done, it don't look like it's done. So, I mean, like me, they move along a little further before they ask for us to vote on taking it on. Obviously, we're going to eventually, if they make the road acceptable. They got more work to do. I'm concerned about, because I see water puddling the road over there. I mean, it's not done yet. So, I mean, I can understand the concerns that you have. I wouldn't like it at all if I saw that was happening in my neighborhood. So, I think, I'm definitely concerned about that. I would definitely like to hear that situation is, that they have their experts come out and show how, to your satisfaction, that they fixed it. Because I wouldn't want that happening to me either. So I fully agree with, Councilman Scott's comments. And, like you said, and we also know that there's going to be development on that road. And we know when there's development on the road, the first thing they do is they tear up the road. We know that. They're going to tear up the roads, they're going to tear up the sidewalks. So whatever they put in is going to get torn all to pieces as we do development. So I certainly hope the town will take consideration as we do that we hold those people doing any development on that road the same way. Because it doesn't do us good for the DOT to build a strong road that we're happy with, and then let developers come in and just tear it all to pieces. Now we got a patchwork road up and down the highway. So, but anyway, I just think that I'm a little concerned about the road's not done yet. So. My comments.
Any other comments, questions?
Mr. Langston, have you taken any pictures?
I have.
Good. That's the number one thing to have if anything comes up. But I do think we should take it.
We're just taking no action. Do we need a motion to table, or we just take no action?
Don't have to take any action. It's not public
Next
hearing.
item on the agenda.
With me? Okay, we'll move on to the next business item, which was a carryover from the consent agenda. It was item number 2, the consent agenda, I believe, or, no. Number 3, consideration and request for approval to retain outside counsel for the purpose of conditional zoning advice. So, Mayor Pro Tem, I know you requested this to be put on business. Did you have a specific question, or do you want just more information? Want Mike to go through it, reasoning and so forth first, and then?
I do have
questions, or-
additional questions or comments. Mayor, thank you for calling on me. My concern with this is, first of all, what's the dollar cost going to be? And the second part of that is, and I was been ill and was away from the last session, perhaps I was not informed, but my understanding is the quasi-judicial hearing process, along with the other decision with the planning department and the planning board, we had a workshop with the council and pretty much made a decision, as this group did, to allow the planning board to hear it out and make a recommendation to us. And I wonder where that's standing, and why are we having to seek legal counsel when we have a town attorney?
Okay. You want me to try to answer?
Yes, please.
Thank you. When we looked at the minutes of the council meeting that you described, we could not find a motion, we could not find a vote where we were going to do that with the planning board. Instead, what was discussed was moving towards conditional zoning. And we had a meeting with some of the planning board staff and talked about that. And my understanding was the council wanted to move away from quasi-judicial hearings as much as they could and move towards conditional zoning. That's what the minutes reflect. So that's what we're trying to do. In order to do that, we thought the best and most expeditious way was to have an attorney that specializes in that area available to us to answer questions so that we can move this through and we can get hearings back to the planning board properly as quickly as possible. And that's the I guess the direction we're trying to head here.
Mayor, I tend to disagree with staff's position on this because I thought it was pretty clear in that meeting about the council's decision. However, obviously that's not the case. I would ask the question, what's it going to cost for this attorney consultation?
Depends on how far we take it. At this point, our goal is to stay within our current budget for attorney fees. If we move outside that budget, we'll stop using the attorney and come back and ask the council who wants us to proceed, and we can dip into contingency funds or not. The real issue here is if you want to stay with quasi-judicial hearings, and the way we're doing it is the board. If we do not want to do that, then we do not need this attorney, and we can move forward with exactly what we currently have on the books.
My last comment on that, excuse me, council. I think that the planning board is very clear, and the council as well, is wanting what's best for the businesses and the fit for our town. The last thing that I feel like we should do is put more stumbling blocks in the path of people that want to bring a new business to Smithfield. I understand doing it the proper way, and I understand we've had some hurdles. However, I just feel like, and it's my personal opinion, judicial process at best, that this is a waste of money, and I remain at that.
And I think the reason why, as I remember our meeting, well, also, the issue for us is that we wanted to make sure that our citizens' input was more valued than they are under the current conditions. Under current conditions, since our comments from our citizens do not consist of a legal, they're not legal experts, even though they know what they know and they have their opinions don't seem to matter when it comes to some of those quasi-judicial hearings. Whereas if we could find a way where their input gives more credence, and we can then make decisions based upon that, then we might perhaps not have overturned some events that we may have had in the past. Because then citizens' input becomes important, and we all think their comments are important. So how do we empower our people and their opinions more so? And the existing system we have has some flaws that prevents that from happening, where you could bring in a high-powered lawyer and bring in the experts that may or may not have anything to do with your town, and make statements that our citizens cannot counteract unless they went out and hired their own lawyers with their own legal staff, and most of our citizens don't know to do that. And so that's our reasoning. How can we better help our citizens' input into their business of their town, and not saying that this is necessarily happened, not trying to a particular situation, but not being ramrodded over by some legalese, and our citizens lose in the deal. And so that's the reason why we had talked about that. How can we give the ability for our citizens' input to have more power and more say? And that's when this came up in the discussion. That's my understanding. And I think that's what we want to go towards, giving our people more power. When they come and say their opinions matter. And we can enforce those opinions legally in a court of law. Whereas today, we're hindered by the existing system. So that was y'all have comments, but.
I think the purpose that staff is making this request for is that we have such an ordinance, which we don't have. So we're trying to get to the point B in hiring an expert. We're never going to get to point B.
Well, one of the risks you've got right now is 160D comes out in the
Next year.
Yeah, next year. Okay. The Institute of Government has not even put their out. They're working on it. They haven't got the analysis out. And I talked to them 3 weeks ago. And so they haven't got the study of that done yet. I don't know if you want to pay another attorney. Now, these large law firms can put a specialized attorney doing nothing but this for large periods of time. But I don't know if you want to get them into 160D until at least the Institute of Government, which is free, comes out with their analysis and proposals for that statute, which is a large rework of everything we're going to do. So whatever we do in 2000 and this year or next year is going to have to be looked at and revised in reference to this statute, which Frida Bluestein and them have not fully analyzed themselves. That's a problem. The other thing was that doing the David's stuff, my understanding of the conversation was that we did want to go into conditional district zoning at the board meeting, and we did want to do that. And we want to find a way that planning staff can be comfortable with that. I have nothing to do with this particular proposal for the specialist to do it. I was not asked about it, and I don't have an opinion one way or another. They probably do a great job out of it.
I don't disagree with anything that's been said, but what I do know is there's probably 1,000 man-hours put in revising our UDO with the advice of an expert out of Wilmington that we paid over $30,000 for, and all it's done is create havoc for us. So I don't know what the right answer here. The lawyer's thing in there, it says they estimate, review, and revisions of the draft ordinance provided in the context of 4 broadly impacted sections of the ordinance will run between 4,500 and 6,500.
Will that provide for 160D changes? I mean, or are we going to do the same thing the year after? Insist on that.
So were you suggesting we just hold the status quo?
No, I would be glad to go in and do it. I just want you to know that, you know, the Institute's not out yet on their studies on that whole new chapter. We're getting a whole new chapter of the sub-chapter of the code just because of problems with zoning.
Well, we can wait, but Mr. Winsman and his staff's going to continue coming to us every month for revisions of the UDO. So we consistently want a table until we resolve the whole thing.
If you're willing to do this, all I'm saying is you may have to do some of it again next year, or the end of this year, end of 2020.
I'm absolutely okay with either direction as long as we understand the path we're doing.
Did not, Sweet, one of the things that you mentioned was that there are other towns, a number of other towns who are already doing this exact thing, right? And are having great success at doing that. And can you remind us who some of those towns are that is doing that? I mean, so the point is, we're not trying to do something that's never been done before, something that's already being done across the state.
It is.
Successful.
Widely done.
Yep.
I looked at the town of Cary, town of Apex, can't remember if Holly
Charlotte.
Springs is doing it. Yeah, I mean,
Raleigh's done.
Charlotte. They all have different means to do it. We've got a draft put together to share with this attorney, and really the intent is to make sure that we're doing it right and making sure that it's clear. You know, we've done it in-house. I think we've done a pretty good job based on the school government's advice and how they said we could implement it, but, you know, I'm not a land use attorney, and it's a pretty big change to our code, and that's why in discussion with the manager, we thought it might be good to have some legal eyes on it. And the attorney did mention the code change and said that she would also analyze it in light of that change.
So, yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be any surprise that we've discussed the quasi-judicial portion of this many times, right? And I think this is staff's way of trying to get us there quicker. Again, it's up to you guys. We can either wait or go ahead and try to hire someone to get us to the point where we have discussed about getting to, right?
The one thing I suggested a while back is we just undo all the revisions we made on UDO, go back to the old UDO, then we wait till 160 revised. That way we put the applicants through to judicial hearing.
Yeah, the old code actually did not require 2 public hearing for planning board and council. We practiced it that way, but it was not actually in the code. So that wouldn't actually solve the problem.
I want us to move forward in providing that opportunity of empowering our people. So the deal is, if we have the money in our budget to do it without having to stretch beyond it on our legal fees, we already said we already have it in our budget to do it, that wouldn't really bother us to do so. Even though we may have to make a change next year, we wouldn't have to make a total change from scratch. Because we're already, and the deal is the change, we'll have to make the same changes that Apex and Cary, all these others that would have to make in that same line. But yet providing power to our people. That's really, I think if you talk to the citizens, I I just believe that most of our citizens would be in favor of us providing them more power and less power. And that means we pay a little bit of some legal fees to get that done. I don't see them arguing about it. So, I make a motion that we approve the, attorney fees and, go ahead and get the consultant and do it. I make a motion.
Have a motion to approve. I have a second.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. All in favor? All opposed? No. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Steve. Okay. Now we'll move on. That was our last business item. Now we'll move on to council members' comments. Any comments from council members?
Mayor, I have a few comments I'd like to make, very brief. First of all, I'd like to thank the staff for their hard work, and we're faced with a storm. Make sure your families are taken care of. I know those of you guys will be essential on the streets and things like that as we move through this storm. But the topic I'd like to speak about, very brief, is this council has had some discussions about our water plant and discussions around the efforts of obtaining a research piece to help us understand what the cost of service is. My first question is do we have that data back yet? It's been almost 6 months.
We do not. We anticipate having that data yet this month in September.
Okay. So the second part of that question is, as everybody here knows, aside from Mayor Pro Tem, I serve the North Smithfield area, and I've received numerous calls from the residents in my jurisdiction, and rightfully so. There's a lot of concerns. The concerns still remain about the progress of the project. What is the status of the project? It was my understanding as council member that we had kind of put that project on hold until we had those numbers. My concern is in the recent weeks, many of the residents in that area received public notice from the Army Corps of Engineers, which relate to the project as it's still moving forward. And I would like an explanation of why.
Why the Corps asked for a public hearing?
I thought this council made it clear that we were stopping progress on that project until we got the data back.
Okay, that is not the understanding I had. The understanding was we weren't supposed to be making any decisions or spending any money moving the project forward. The project itself has a life of its own. The council approved to hire an engineering firm to engineer the water plant, and this is part of that engineering process. And that's where we are.
My second question, or third question on that is, in fact, I just want to make sure as we move forward that the council is updated of things like this, because I got questions about it, had no knowledge of it. It's pretty significant and relates to our reservoir being expanded. The clear well was another topic that I understand has been taking progress as well with a separate discussion. But Mr. Scott, I would just ask that you would please keep us up to date. Our citizens do care. They have value in this community, and we do deserve to make sure that they're well informed of the progress of this such thing. Can I ask you to please contact this company and get us this information back so that we can figure out where we're at with this project?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
So, Mike, can you give a little more information on the Corps of Engineers there, or Ted, as far as their public hearing that they've scheduled or whatever? Because it's my understanding.
Yes, sir.
Because I just heard about this in a meeting last
Yeah,
week, right? And it was kind of news to me as well, right? And so, but before I go there, is there any doubt that we're moving forward with a clear well?
No.
Okay. All right, you mentioned that. I just wanted to make sure. I mean, there was a motion duly approved by this council to move forward with the clear well. All right, so there should not be any, right?
No, the only issue is obviously the project itself has to be approved in its entirety so that we can get that portion of it moving forward. And when we get an RFP and we send it out, we get a construction contract bid, the low bidder will come back to council. We have to make sure it's within budget, and we're not that far yet.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure we were all clear. Ted, can you give us some information as far as this Corps of Engineers, or whatever it is?
Yes, gentlemen. Part of the project whole as a total is in its entirety, part of the approval is to get a erosion control permit, as we're going to be disturbing soil. So we need, appropriate measures to make sure that the stormwater runoff doesn't, or is legal and doesn't contaminate the creeks and streams. Within the erosion control permit, the state will not grant that until because of where we are with the reservoir, the state will not grant the erosion control permit until the wetlands have been approved and any kind of mitigation towards the wetlands are carried out, explained, or paid for. When we did the initial survey of the reservoir and its proposed expansion, there would be some intrusion into the wetlands. So the report was sent out, and this was part of the engineers, their report 8 to 9 months ago. It was sent to the Corps of Engineers to get a permit to go into the wetlands for the purpose of the slope bank coming off the reservoir. As you may know, the reservoir it's like a big bowl, and on the outside of the bowl, it has to slope back to natural ground. So that's part of the slope that would be going into some of the existing wetlands, currently about where the walk is, some of the trail is down by the river. So that was submitted to the Corps of Engineers. The Corps of Engineers took its time, as they are apt to do. They submitted a report back saying we had to go through the open process, which is completely fine. It's always in their purview, and that's what that was. It was a notification that to the landowner and all surrounding landowners that that some of this construction would be occurring. They would be going into some of the wetlands. Part of that notice that was sent showed there was no endangered flora, no endangered species, no impact. They've had what's called a no-rise certification, which means the water will not be, floodwaters won't be affected, et cetera. But they have to do it. It's just part of their process. And it was put out, and there was if someone can show cause to why they need a public hearing, then you would contact the Corps of Engineers. And the whole process is handled through the Corps of Engineers. The town nor the engineering consultant has anything to say in how it's done. So out of Wilmington, they put out the notification and they accept all comments, and should they get anything, they'll schedule the hearing. If not, they'll move forward.
Does that answer your question, Mayor Pro Tem?
It does, but again, the concern's still on the table. Mr. Scott, staff would let the council know that these things are ongoing. We are a transparent community, and that's our goal as public servants, is to make sure that things like this, it was perceived potentially that this was a secret thing, and I just put it on the table, but in reality it's a due process, so please just keep us informed as we move forward. And I think the real answers will come once we can look at the data. But I do appreciate your professionalism in this, but I do think that we need to pay attention to detail and get these questions answered. Thank you.
Thank you for that, and it's obviously my responsibility to advise the council of these type of things, and I did not advise the council as I should have in this manner, but as far as transparency goes, as soon as I found out about this, first thing we did was launch it on our social media sites and on our website to make sure that it was being transparent. So I want to make sure that we did try to be as transparent as we could with the public. My fault for not advising the council better, but it wasn't anything that was ever tried to be hidden. In fact, we went above and beyond what we were required to do to alert the public to this issue.
Thank you, Mike. Any other comments from the council?
Yes, I have just a few comments I would like to make. I'm the town council representative on the Parks and Recreation Committee, And I just want to, I know our council is very much supportive of our Parks and Recreation, but I just want to make sure that the people in the town is aware that Parks and Recreation, I got a report from the National Recreation Parks and Association said why Parks and Recreation are essential public services. And it says there's 3 values that make them essential services to communities. The first is economic value, the second is health and environmental benefits, and the third is social importance. And they quoted and said, just as water, sewer, and public safety are considered essential public services, parks are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in a community, ensuring the health of families and youth, and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of a community and region. There are no communities that pride themselves on their quality of life, promote themselves as desirable locations for business to relocate, or maintain that they are environmental stewards of their natural resources without such communities having a robust, active systems of parks and recreation programs for public use and enjoyment. Economic value, parks improve the local tax base and increase property values. It's been proven that homes that are near local parks are higher in value. The property value is worth more money. So the more parks you build, the more communities that are built around it, there's more property value, which increases our property tax base. The Texas A&M review of 25 study investigating whether parks and open space contributed positively to property values found that 20 of the 25 studies found that property values were higher. The real estate market consistently demonstrates that many people are willing to pay larger amounts for property located close to parks and open space than for homes that do not offer this amenity. Quality parks and recreation are cited as one of the top 3 reasons that business sites in relocation decisions in a number of studies. Parks and recreation programs generate revenue directly from fees and charges, but more importantly, provide significant indirect revenue to local and regional economies from sports tournaments, special events such as art, music, and holiday festivals, economic activities from hospitality, expenditures, tourism, fuel, recreational equipment sales, and many other private sector businesses of true and sustained. Health and environmental benefits. Parks are places that people go to get healthy and stay fit. According to studies by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, creating, improving, and promoting places to be physically active can improve individual and community health and result in a 25% increase of residents who exercise at least 3 times a week. Parks and protected public lands are proven to improve water quality, protect groundwater, prevent flooding, improve the quality of air we breathe, provide vegetation buffers, produce habitat for wildlife, and provide a place for children and family to connect. And social importance. Parks are tangible reflections of the quality of life in the community. They provide identity for citizens and are a major factor in the perception of quality of life in a given community. Parks and recreation services are often cited as one of the most important factors in surveys of how livable communities are. Parks provide gathering places for families and social groups as well as for individuals of all ages, regardless of their ability to pay for access. Ongoing studies of the Trust in Public Land shows that over the past decade, voters' approval rating for bond measures to acquire parks and conserve open space exceeds 75%. Parks and Recreation Program provide a place for health and well-being that are accessible by persons of all ages and abilities, especially to those with disabilities. And we are proud in Smithfield to have our Miracle Park. That is a pride for everybody around. We have people coming from other counties to come into this facility. Access to parks and recreation opportunities have been strongly linked to reductions in crime and reduced juvenile delinquencies. Parks have a value to communities that transcends the amount of dollars invested or the revenues gained from fees. Parks provide a sense of public pride and cohesion to every community. Last but not least, I read this article from NBC News. One big reason millennials are buying homes, and it's for their dogs. Millennials are now leading the pack of homeowners, and what one incentive driving them to take the mortgage plunge is their dogs. A recent survey conducted by Harris Poll on behalf of SunTrust Mortgage found that 33% of millennial home buyers' decision to buy a home was driven chiefly by their dogs. Furry friends outrank wedding bells 25% and children 19%. So having a dog park in Smithfield is an important thing, and we need more of them. So I just want to make sure that our town council and the town citizens know that we invest in parks and recreation because it is a good investment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other comments from the council? Okay. So we just want to say thank you to staff and Mike and everyone who helped prepare for the groundbreaking ceremony at the new Hampton Inn, which was held a couple of weeks ago. That was a great event, and I want to say thanks to everybody and for that. There'll be another hotel in Smithfield, another great addition to the town. So it was pretty exciting times there. Also, with the storm approaching, we're getting conflicting weather reports as far as what to expect in this area, but I do want the public to know that the manager, town staff, department heads are preparing for that. We're making preparations for that. We had a conference call this afternoon with emergency management as far as what Johnston County is doing and the state emergency management in order to get prepared for that. There are several shelters that have been planned. I think only one will actually be opening right now at this time, with 3 to 4 additional ones that are planned. They have already transferred supplies to those areas, but they will not be opened or staffed until such time as needed. But I think the plan is to go ahead and open up one shelter in the county. Is that right, Chief? Is that correct? North Johnston Middle School will be open as a shelter. With that being said, Mike, I'll turn it over to you if you want to add anything else as far as storm prep goes, and then anything else you would like to add.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In that same vein, Hurricane Dorian is approaching us, and it is going to impact us at some level. We just don't know how much. I remind everybody to don't drown, turn around if you see water that you can't see the bottom of the road. Don't go through it, turn around, find a different route. If you can, stay home, shelter yourself in place. If you have an emergency, feel free to call 911. We'll respond to you. We'll definitely have all of our law enforcement people out, as well as our firefighting staff and emergency operations people. If you lose power, feel free to call as well, but you probably won't be alone. Ted and his group will have extra staff on. We'll be working very hard to get you reinstated with power as soon as it is safe to do so. It may not be safe at that particular moment. We may need to wait until the rain lets up or something happens, but rest assured, we will get you turned back on faster than probably any other community in our area. Last but not least, I would ask you to assist us a little bit. We are out cleaning storm drains today, making sure that yard debris is not blocking anything and stormwater can flow freely. If you have a storm drain near your residence, please check it. Help us out. If there's something cover it, throw it up on the bank, not in the road where it's going to cover it back up. If you're going to cut your grass between now and the weekend, please keep your grass clippings on the boulevard. Do not put them in the curb area where they're going to wash down the street and into a storm drain and plug that up. Those are the kind of things that we ask our citizens to help us with. Do your due diligence, make it a little bit better on everybody. And last but not least, after the storm, if you have nothing else to do, feel free to head out to Johnson Park on Saturday. And we have a movie in the park night there where you can watch The Incredibles. And about dusk, that'll start. So come on out there and bring your children and have a good time.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. If there's no further business, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
We adjourn.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Stand adjourned. Thank you very much.